This is the third PowerPoint presentation for Module 1. You need to finish viewing parts 1 and 2 before commencing this presentation. Upon completion of reviewing this presentation, you will be in position to critically examine how gender equality is addressed in international goals such as EFA goals, MDGs, and SDGs. Examine how gender equality is addressed in the education policy and plan documents for your country, and explore the feasibility of attaining the gender-related targets included in SDG number 4 and number 5 for your country. Here is a question for reflection. To what extent has gender equality become a major priority on the global agenda? As we have briefly seen in the first presentation in Module 1, the importance of gender equality in education within the process of international goal setting has been emphasized in the EFA Goal number 5 of the Dhaka Final Framework of Action and in the Millennium Development Goal number 3. EFA Goal number 2 and MDG number 2 also make a reference to boys and girls. From your point of view, have these goals been exhaustive? Have they adequately addressed gender equality? During the first presentation for Module 1, we have looked at the meaning of gender equality. Before going further, let us look at the meaning of gender parity. Gender parity means that the same proportion of boys and girls would enter the education system and participate in its different cycles. Gender parity refers to the stage of equal participation and equal representation, both quantity and quality, of both sexes in all areas. It is a necessary but not sufficient condition for gender equality. Gender parity is easier to measure, while gender equality is more complex and more difficult to measure. The framing of the gender equality issue in these international goals has been much criticized by various stakeholders for a number of reasons. With these differences among gender parity, gender equity, and gender equality in mind, we will now look at these critiques. First of all, both in EFA and MDG, it is obvious that the gender issue is considered to be a separate issue, as if it is a particular field of expertise. That is, the gender reference is not made throughout the goals. While the reference to gender is made in EFA Goal number 2 and MDG number 2, this limits to the access and participation at the primary level. For example, take a look at the EFA Goal number 6. Is there a gender reference in this goal about the learning outcomes? Secondly, the EFA indicators were mainly focused on gender parity. For example, access and participation, repetition, survival, completion rates at primary level. These indicators do not allow us to measure the gender equality in learning, gender differentiated national expenditure, gender difference in the process of supervision, teaching and learning, perception of gender equality, and so on. Another critique with particular attention to the MDG includes the separation between education with other developmental fields such as health and poverty. This separation means that the progress has been reported separately in each field. MDG failed to require countries to monitor the gender equality in education within other inequalities based on geographical locations, family background, and disabilities. While some countries may be facing challenge in coordinating different subsectors within education, the coordination opportunity has been missed where the education sector could work together with other sectors such as labor and health. In order to secure sustainable resources for accomplishing gender equality, this coordination seems inevitable. Other critiques are about the lack of more qualitative information. More complex ways to measure qualitatively have been increasingly tested and proposed by developmental partners and researchers concerned about gender equality, especially to address equity as well as empowerment. For example, some information that could be collected through interviews with practitioners as well as observations of classrooms and schools may include school-related gender-based violence, gender stereotypes, curriculum choices, teaching styles, gender biasing assessment, and so on. As we have already seen in part 2 of Module 1, 17 SDGs were adopted by the heads of states in 2015. Stop the video and now see what these goals are. Goal 5 speaks specifically about the achievement of gender equality and empowering of women and girls that are beyond education but could impact gender equality in education. Stop the video and study all the targets for SDG number 5. The EFI goal, which was adopted earlier in 2015, feeds directly into SDG as goal number 4 with 10 targets. As highlighted in red here, gender equality is explicitly addressed in many of these targets as well as in the indicators. This means that gender equality is fundamental to achieve all these targets. At this time, please reflect for your country and ask yourself the following questions. What national documents, such as education policy documents, planning documents, or strategy documents, address gender equality? What targets and indicators are included in order to monitor the progress in gender equality in education? Do you think it would be feasible for your country to attain these targets? Why or why not? We have seen that the way gender equality was addressed within EFA goals and MDGs was somewhat limited. Namely, gender was treated separately and not integrated throughout other EFA goals. The focus has been on gender parity, and there was a lack of process and perception indicators. There has been a separation between education, health, and poverty. And there has been lack of qualitative information. The way the gender equality is addressed is more transversal through various targets in SDG number 4, which is the education goal. Once you complete viewing this presentation, you can continue building the glossary based on the terminologies introduced during Module 1, such as gender parity, gender equity, and gender equality. In addition, you're ready to participate in the forum discussions.